Shalom Israel. For a start, I want to give all glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh, Hashem Yahushai, Wahara Kakadash, doublings to the elders and apostles in Israel who rule and teach all, the Akims and Iwas and Bibles, and those pushing videos in truth and sincerity, to the brothers and sisters in the truth. Now, one of the prophecies that is yet to come is the Motb, but from videos that certain brothers have been doing, credit to the elders and apostles at GMS, because at the end of the day, they've been teaching that Motb is an RFID chip, and they've not just been saying it, they've been showing how the system is being put in place by things that's happening around us. Not everyone believes that the Motb is the RFID chip, but what they have been doing and what I've tried to do as well is show how the system is being put in place. You have other brothers that may say, oh, the Motb is an embargo, you joining onto the system. But what they're not actually showing in real life is how these things are being played out. Prophecies is like, we know that we're Israelites through what the prophecies, mainly those in Deuteronomy chapter 28, and what's happened. Someone's read through it and showed you history as to how these things are played out and why we say we are who we are. Well, it's the same with the Motb, to show how these things play out and why it is what it is. Why we say it's the RFID chip, because the foundation for it is being laid. The chip will give you access to all the things that they're putting in place, to your medical records, your banking, everything, you being able to buy and sell, that's what it will give you access to. Yeah. Now, there's a few things I want to go through. Now, China last year, they did a trial, I should say, during their Winter Olympics, on the digital yen trials. It says China's central bank to expand digital yuan trials to more cities. I might have said that wrong. So they did a trial during the Winter Olympics, and it seems to have been going good. So it says the People's Bank of China plans to expand its trial for digital yuan to include more cities, a report Saturday, April the 3rd, from Bloomberg said. And Bloomberg is quite a good source to get information from. This comes because the market response was good towards the use of the central bank digital currency in both the pilot cities and the Winter Olympic venues where it was tested. So these things are being tested throughout. You look at Sweden. This has been running in Sweden for years now. Like, they're quite big on the chip. And like I said, you have certain brothers who don't teach the mark as being the chip. And if you don't believe the mark, fair enough, that's down to you. But then what you should be doing is showing our people how these things are playing out. And that's what you're not seeing when it comes to those who don't believe the mark is a chip. Like I said, when you look at the apostles, from those going down to the elders of GMS, and an elder that I would advise everyone to go and check out when it comes to this, because the elder is very astute on these things, is the elder. I'm going to play one of his videos in a minute. GMS Fader Mosai 7. He's got numerous videos on there regarding the Motb. So it says this comes because the market response was good towards the use of central bank digital currency in both the pilot cities and the Winter Olympic venues where it was tested. And this article is what? April the 3rd, 22. It says transaction scales have been growing steadily according to the report. The next steps will include more privacy protection and crime prevention. Slack it, Israel. 1 second. Yeah, Slack here as well. Says here, the next steps will include more privacy protection and crime prevention, and the bank will be researching the impact on the coins on the financial system. So the trial took place in, and we've got all these names here. It says now there will be trials in, and we've got all these names here. I'm not going to try and pronounce some of those. Yeah, it says PYMTS wrote that there have been other countries and banks working on digital coins, including the Bank for International Settlements, and 4 central banks which have been working on blockchain-based platforms for multinational CBDC technical standard. Nationally issued CBDCs include the digital one, could end up making both retail and interbank payments easier and more streamlined, while also offering potential benefits for cross-border payments. Because the way things stands now, if I got UK money and I go to China, for them to change up that money, there's a big process that actually has to go through. Even though you may go to those money changers, that's the easy part for us, but for them, there's a big process that goes through because certain countries they hold a reserve of their cash in each country to make the transfer easier for them to some extent. But when you do it via digital payments, it's just straightforward, and this is what they're trying to do. That said, they'd also need to be able to, and going back to the elder, there's a lesson he did, I can't remember the name of the lesson, where he even explains that a bit better than I did. This is why I advise you to check out the elder, man. It says nationally issued CBDCs include the digital one, could end up making both retail and international interbank payments easier and more streamlined, by also offering potential benefits for cross-border payments. That said, they'd also need to be able to talk to each other to make that happen, which is the goal of Project Dunbar, which includes the central banks of Australia, Malaysia, Singapore, and South Africa. So you see that a lot of these other countries are starting to get involved as well. It says the reported note that there was agreement that the digital ledger technology that blockchain is based on was a good way to streamline payments, but there wasn't a specific blockchain platform to use yet. The BIS project tested 2 permission protocols, one of which was built on R3's Corda, a DLT platform that has been described as both blockchain and not a blockchain, and Quorum, the JP Morgan designed blockchain platform based on Ethereum. Now, the point is that the system for this Motb is being put in place. It's being tried and tested, and it's only a matter of time before it rolls out, man. Now, if you look at what's happening with Sri Lanka, is how crypto adoption could help Sri Lanka amid recent turmoil, because they're going through some problems as it stands now. Yeah. It says the Southeast Asia country Sri Lanka is undergoing an unfortunate series of events, and a lot of these events are orchestrated because they want to put their system into place. It says the island country is facing its worst economic crisis and is running low on its foreign reserves to import goods. Besides that, Sri Lanka has defaulted on its debts for the first time in its history. Amid the nation's current economic situation, some crypto enthusiasts believe that the only way to save the country from bankruptcy is to introduce digital currency and blockchain. Now, some of the banks have been against it, but we're going to see what's happening in a minute. It says, for instance, Tron founder Justin Sun said that he can leverage Web3 to help the country get out of bankruptcy. Sun said in a Twitter post, Sri Lanka is officially on DAO mode. I have some great ideas on how to get Sri Lanka out of bankruptcy and into prosperity with Web3 as a solution. Yeah. Now, like I said, some of the banks over in Sri Lanka have not really been on this digital currency idea, but I'll show you something in a minute. It says, recalling a post in 2021 Namal Rajapaksa, a member of the parliament, revealed a board meeting to bring blockchain adoption and digital currency payments to the country. Right? Now, says in addition, Namal said that it's time for Sri Lanka to keep up with the global trends, which not only will introduce better opportunities in global markets, but also will enable us as a government to create more digital centric opportunities and strengthen the economy. Now, like I said, the banks have not been down with this, but look at this now. It says Sri Lanka implements QR code digital ID fuel rationing. And if you check out the previous wars, which I did a lesson on, they did rationing then. And all these things are useful to limit how people can obtain certain resources. And instead of having rationing card like in the First and Second World War, what it will be now is a digital, as we're seeing here, rationing ID. So if you have it on a chip, it's easier to program what you can and can't have. So it says the policy was introduced by the Sri Lankan Minister of Power and Energy, Kanchana, at the behest of Sri Lanka's new president, Ranil, a member and agenda contributor of the World Economic Forum. After initial, and this is all part of the Crafted Council that we read about in Psalm 64. It says, after initial technical issues, FuelPass QR system was successfully tested today. The pilot project will continue before going national next week. Last digital number plate fuel quota will ease the fuel lines in the next few days, with distribution speeding up island-wide, whatever that is. I don't know how to pronounce his name, wrote in a Twitter earlier today. I thank the fuel station owners who supported the public that adopted and assisted, forces and volunteers that assisted in implementing it. Some fuel stations did not adopt it, and some individuals manipulated or falsified QR codes and did not want this implemented. However, it will be enforced island-wide now. Like I said, some of the banking system didn't want this going into place. But, the president that they've got now, where is he? What's his name? No.
Whoa! What are you doing?
Okay. Where was that? Yeah, so going back to this president now, it says the policy was introduced by the Sri Lankan Minister of Power and Energy, at the behest of Sri Lanka's new president now. Watch this. This is from the elder, GMS for the Mosai 7. Yeah, about the new president.
Now, we the last algorithm I did with the elder Ariana, we was talking about the situation in Sri Lanka. We were talking about the uproars that's happening over there, the shortages they're having of certain resources, and we've been talking about resource shortage for a while because it's prophecy. Scriptures speak about the perplexity of nations. The scriptures speak about the famine and the lack of bread. So we know these things are in the Lord's algorithm, right? Now, the elder Ariana said, if you go back and watch that algorithm, he said that, look, they're going to take out this current prime minister, and they're going to put in a guy who's a puppet, who's going to forward the New World Order agenda towards the MOTB system. And lo and behold, the guy that they just replaced the previous prime minister with, let me get my Twitter up, is a WEF puppet, man. All right, the new President Rickin Taras, blood, whatever the hell that dude's name is. He's a representative of the World Economic Forum, man. So there you go.
Yeah, so even though some of the banks have been trying to, say that they don't want it, the fact is who they've replaced the new president with is a puppet, who's looking to bring these things in, as we just read. Shalom Elder. Now with that said, that's Sri Lanka. Now this is something I did a lesson on a little while back, but I'm gonna play it again because this mark is being issued in under the nose of a lot of people, and when it does actually hit, it's gonna, like the scripture speaks about Yahushua coming like a thief in the night. It's not that we didn't know he's coming back. The signs are there, earthquakes, rumors of war, so on and so forth. But people choose to ignore it, and it's the same with this mark. It's not that the signs ain't there, but people are choosing to ignore it. Now, this is another channel, Ice Age Farmer, and once again, I was led to this by same elder, James the Most High 7. This is why I said you need to check out the elder's channel, because when it comes to the MOTB, the elder brings it out like it's water, man. Like if you don't get it, then you weren't meant to get it, because it doesn't make it technical. Now, listen to this. It says, Iran digital food rationing rolls out using biometric IDs amid food riots. And listen now, this guy here starts off his lesson. Listen to what he says.
My friends, welcome. The mark is here.
What more do you want to know? And this is someone that's not in the truth. So when
my friends, welcome.
So when brothers that are in the truth are telling you what the mark is, and you can't see it, well, pray to the Most High hard, man. Yeah, listen to this anyway.
My friends, welcome. The mark is here. Iran is set to be the first country to roll out a biometric digital ID needed in order to buy food. Needed in order to eat. Right? Needed in order to survive. You must go get your digital ID from the government. The same digital ID that central banks are telling us is needed in order to roll out the central bank digital currencies. The same digital ID that the World Economic Forum establishes is at the very crux of this fourth industrial revolution. Yeah, all of that now, you need to go get your ID in order to eat. Now, there's some interesting details about the way Iran is implementing this that I want to walk through today, because I think this is a bellwether for how it's going to be rolled out around the rest of the world. And make no mistake, this is food rationing based on your digital ID. Down here, you. Able to buy as much bread as you want, but if you want to get the subsidized prices, then you're going to need the ID. Then you'll have access to, quote, a limited amount of bread at subsidized prices.
You tell me if you can't see, like, this is just on a small scale, but once it's rolled out nationwide and everything's, like, things are in place, it's just for that crisis for them to say, well, this is what we have to do. You can see how this will play out, man. And these chips are programmable. So if you're only meant to get one bread a week, you can't roll up and say, boy, squeeze me in a second loaf now. Because it's already programmed what you can get.
And you can keep buying the rest at market rates if you want, right? You can buy as much bread for $1 million a loaf as you want. But for the 50% of Iran that lives below the poverty line, that's not an option, right? Their only option is to go get in line and accept this mark, this digital biometric
And
ID.
you can see how some of these other prophecies, like 2 Ezra 15, or 16, I believe, how these come into play, because when these things are hard to get now, man don't really care. Like neighbor, my neighbor's looking kind of plump while I'm losing weight. I wonder what they got in their house.
To which all resources are being tied, not just bread, but according here, the scheme will later include all goods such as chicken, cheese, vegetable oil, and so on and so forth. So this is a pretty big deal. Let's talk about it. I'm Christian, and this is the Ice Age Farmer broadcast. And there's a lot to this story, from the fact that they cut off the internet for regular users, to the fact that there have been already fatal food riots and protests. So let's break it down. Here from Reuters, soaring bread prices spark protests and shop fires in Iran. May 13th, soaring bread prices have triggered protests in which some shops were set on fire, encouraging 22 arrests. The protests were triggered by a cut in subsidies for wheat that caused price hikes as high as 300% for flour-based staples. The inflation rate in Iran is already 40 to 50%, depending on who's counting, and half of 82 million people there are already living below the poverty line. So digging in further, the cut on bread subsidies is something that the Iranian government says...
I'm going to stop it there, because you get the gist. These things are being played out under our noses. And Sweden, they've been on this thing for a long, long while. Now, this video here is a recent-ish one, about 8 months back, December 2021. It says, COVID-19 in Sweden, a vaccine passport on a microchip implant. So everything is going on this chip. So that says, at the beginning of December, Sweden enacted new rules requiring individuals to have a passport at all events with more than 100 people. And to be honest, a lot of these Swedes, they're down for it anyway. That's 6,000 so far.
I think it's very much part of my own integrity to have myself chipped and keep my personal data there with me. I actually feel in a way that it's even more control on my end, having it in my own hands.
I laugh because I find it funny, when the scriptures actually tells us what's going to happen. So to see it play out, and a lot of people just is being blind to it, that's all I can do is laugh, man, because it's not as if brothers ain't out there giving you the info. Like I said, other camps who believe it's this embargo and so forth, they will go through their scriptures and tell you, oh, this is what it is, but they're not showing you how it's playing out. And this is why I say, to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, they actually show you through events that's happening around us today, how the foundation is being laid and how this is being implemented. And there's videos like this showing you that it is a possibility that, these things can happen on a little RFID chip.
So I have a chip implant in my arm, and I have programmed the chip so that I have my COVID passport. And
you see, and that's the thing with these chips, they're programmable. So you can program it to do whatever is needed, man, to have your medical records, to ration you from being able to buy certain items,
chip. And the reason is that I always want to have it accessible. And when I read my chip, I just swipe my phone on the chip, and then I unlock, and it opens up. This is a PDF, which is my
Even Amazon, I believe, I think it's Amazon. They got certain food stores. You just go in, no tellers or nothing. You just go in, pick up the food and swipe. I think it's a phone at the moment, whatever you got on your phone. But it's just a matter of time before it becomes, as we're seeing here.
my COVID passport. And this means that it's always accessible for me, or for anyone else really who wants to read me. For example, if I go to the movies or go to a shopping center, then people will be able to check my status even if I don't have my phone. The chip implant costs, 100 euros if you want to buy them, the more advanced versions. And you can compare this with, for example, a health wearable that will cost perhaps twice that, but at the same time, a chip implant you can use for 20, 30, 40 years, whereas a wearable you can only use for 3-4 years. So.
TIE says the users have stopped carrying vaccine passport, keys, ID cards, and even train tickets with them. That's what they do. It makes life more easier. You don't have to walk around with cash on you.
If you understand how these implants work, they don't have a battery. They cannot transmit a signal by themselves, so they're basically passive. They're asleep, right? They can never tell your location.
Yeah, right.
They're only activated when you touch them with your smartphone. So this means that they cannot be used for tracking anyone's location. And what matters to me is that the people who get chip implants, they do so because they are, on a volunteer basis, and because they're curious and they want to work with this technology.
They say it's completely reversible, but when you're in a state of time where everything is accessible by this, and furthermore, once you take it, that's it. There's no reversing, because you've done show the Most High where your loyalty lies. This is Isaiah 62:6 says, "I have set watchmen upon thy walls, O Jerusalem, which shall never hold their peace day nor night." Yeah, and this is what we're doing, man. We're being those watchmen, which is blowing the trumpet and sounding the alarm, letting our people know what's happening out there. It says, "Ye that make mention of the Lord, keep not silence." And we're not keeping silent. Brothers are making videos showing you what's happening and how these things are being put in place. Jeremiah 6:17 says, "Also I set watchmen over you, saying, hearken to the sound of the trumpet." Yeah, listen, man, get yourself right with the Most High. Time's running out. The mark is being put in place. The system the foundation is being set up. It's just a matter of time before they bring in the crisis that is required for everybody to take this mark. It says, "Also I set watchmen over you, saying, hearken to the sound of the trumpet." But they said, what? We will not hearken. And that's many of our people today, man. They won't hearken because things are quite good for them now, man. They're forgetting that, several months back was on a lockdown. Now everything's opened up. They've forgotten that they were locked down. That's the state of the mind of our people. Very short-minded, man. We forget things very easily. Yeah, Ezekiel 33:1. Again, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, "Son of man, speak to the children of thy people." Yeah. So this is who we're coming out to, our people, man. Yeah. You have the opportunity to repent. I say our people, but really it's to the elect of our people, because that's the ones that's going to hearken. And say unto them, when I bring the sword upon the land, if the people of the land take a man of their coast and set him for their watchman, if when he seeth the sword come upon the land, he blow the trumpet, which is what we're doing, these lessons is brothers blowing the trumpet and warn the people, Then whosoever heareth the sound of the trumpet, the elect, and the 1/3 Salakia, and taketh not warning, because that's who's not going to take the warning. The 2/3 Salakia. It says, then whosoever heareth the sound of the trumpet, and taketh not warning, that will be the 2/3. If the sword come and take him away, his blood shall be upon his own head. Yeah, your blood ain't going to be on our hands because we've given you that warning. Yeah, it says, hear the sound of the trumpet and take. He that heard the sound of the trumpet and took not warning, his blood shall be upon him. But he that taketh warning shall deliver his soul. Yeah, and it's the 1/3 that will take that warning. Now, what's the warning we're given? With everything that has gone on previously in this lesson, this is the warning. And he causeth, Revelation 13:16, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand when they're forest. Now, what is that mark? Yeah, is that mark? So I have a chip implant in my arm, and I program the chip so that I have my Motb passport on the chip. Yeah, that's the warning about that mark. It says Revelation 13:16, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark with the name of the beast or the number of his name. So for those that want to take the mark, good riddance to you, man. You can't say you've not been warned. Revelation 14:9. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man or woman worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of the Most High, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And one of the reasons why a lot of our people take that mark is due to unbelief, man. You don't believe in Yahweh or his son or the words of Yahweh. Hashem Yahweh Shai. So, with that said, John 3, go straight to the crux. And 36, he that believeth on the Son has everlasting life. You believe on the Son, you're going to take heed to what the Son says, and you're going to take heed to what the Father tells the Son to tell us. And he that believeth not the Son shall not see life. Why? But the wrath of the Most High abideth on him. So, yeah, the mark and the foundations are being implemented. Yeah, it's for us to take heed to the signs, man. The watchmen are blowing the trumpet. Hope you can hear that sound, but hopefully this lesson was edifying. Like I said, go to the Elders channel, JMS for the Most High 7. He has numerous lessons on the Motb where the Elder breaks it down a lot more intricately than I'm able to do. So with that, hopefully this was edifying. I'm going to close out. Give all glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Yahara Kakadash, Kwam Nasha Allah.